Hey, it's your girl Barbie J here, and we are talking about Our Kind of People, Season 1, Episode 7, Fathers, Daughters, Sisters. Oh, yeah. And before we get started with this episode, if you have not as of yet subscribed to my channel, please take a moment right now and subscribe to Barbie J's channel. That's right, hit that little red subscribe bell. And if you want to be notified every time a new video is uploaded by me, just hit the little notification bell next to it. And then what I would ask you to do is once you watch the videos, please like it, comment on it, and share it. That's right, like, comment, and share. I'd appreciate it. Those things will help make my channel grow. So shout out to all of you who have been doing that in my comment section and who are my subscribers. Shout out to all of you. You are appreciated and loved. So now let's get started with this video. All right, here we go. Ooh, so this episode starts over Teddy Franklin, and he's on the beach, and he's like in this white, and then this other man in white is coming towards him, and it's his little brother Lewis, who we know has died already, and he asks, I can't believe you came. Why did you come? And Teddy was like, yeah, I'm surprised I came too. And then it was like, my heart, I'm in pain. And he started falling down on the ground, and his brother's looking at him, touching his heart, saying, I know. And then it switches over to he's in the hospital. So he must be dying, and he sees his brother and stuff. And that's why his brother's saying, why did you come, I guess. So they're trying to revive him and everything. And Angela's in the waiting room trying to tell Nikki that that's her father over there. And she's like, what? This is too much for me to take. And she walks out. Because she's like, but he's a good man. And then the father comes over to Angela, and he's telling her, I'm sorry the way this went down. I can't believe he doesn't even know me. And he got me out just like that. And he's allowing me to stay on his compound. And she's like, really? But I'm sorry how this all went down. And she's like, well, it's going to take a while to tell her, to let her know about you. I said, oh my goodness. So then the doctor comes out, and she wants to talk to Franklin's daughter or whatever. And Raymond even jumped up and what's her name? Leah told him no. And she went. And so Angela went right next to her with her. And then the doctor was telling them stuff. And Leah goes, can I talk to you in private? And she goes behind a door with the doctor, and Angela goes right with her. And I know Leah was pissed. And that's when the doctor mentioned about his Parkinson's disease. But Angela didn't blink an eye or anything. And she was like, Leah said, I want to go see him. And Angela like, I want to see him too. And she went running in there right behind her. And they get in there now in the room, and she's looking at him. They're both standing there looking at the father. And, Angela's like, why didn't you tell me he had Parkinson? And she's like, why should I have to tell you? And she's like, I didn't mean it like that. I don't know how it came out that she meant it, but she's like, I'm sorry. So she said something about daddy was all about his legacy. I couldn't hear what they were saying. It sounded like she was whispering almost. So Leah left and let Angela stay in there by herself. And Angela went over to him and touched his hand and said, I just lost my mother. I can't lose you too. She said, what else did she say? I can't lose you too. And she said, we have unfinished business, old man. So don't you die on me. We still have unfinished business. You owe that to me. So they get home, and there's all the news media people are in front of their house and stuff, and Raymond and Leah and what's the daughter, Lauren, they all getting out of the car. I forgot the son's name, Q, something like that. Whatever. Quincy, they all getting out of the car, and they're hurrying up, into the house. And then Leah starts answering a few questions, but, the only one person who got a question in was Raymond's ex-wife and stuff. And she seemed to know that he had a heart attack. And, Leah was just like, he's fine, whatever, don't worry about it. But then when Raymond told them they all had to go and get off his private property, or else he had them escorted off, then, Leah said, I want to know what she's really doing here, and I'm going to find out, and I'm going to squash her. Now Angela and Tarika talking, and he basically sharing with her, what he found out from Teddy about his father supposedly commit suicide. He's feeling a little guilty, like he's the one who might have caused Teddy's heart attack. But we saw what happened, and Tariq was not responsible. Teddy was over medicating himself or something like that. That's one of the doctors said, and he has to be careful with that. Now Raymond gonna sit there and share with his wife Leah that I'm dead. What is his ex-wife's name? How did I forget this woman's name? She, Leah's thinking she's jealous, and then Raymond explains and tells the part about he just found out that she was paid off to leave and to move out, and she's like, great. Now I got to deal with your baggage and her feelings and stuff. She's like, I'm tired of this mess. And she just walked away. This is Leah I'm talking about now. So they switch over to Angela. She's driving to go visit Nikki's dad. Why can't I remember this man's name all of a sudden? It's so crazy. She's driving to meet him, and the reporters are surrounding her car trying to ask questions. Miss Vaughn, And she gets in there and she brought him food or something like that. And he said he don't think he would have ever made it those 17 years in prison had his mother not had Nikki not been born, but also had her mother, Angela's mother, used to go and visit him and encourage him while he was in prison. He didn't think he would have survived it there. And then he said one thing he did do is he grew his locks, because that was like the one luxury that, the prison or the system could not take away from him. And then she noticed that he's sleeping on the floor instead of in the bed. And he's like, once you've been conditioned by something like that, with doing something that way for 17 years, it's kind of like a habit. You can't get away from it. So then Angela told him maybe it's time for him to, Angela said, maybe it's time for you to shed that pain, the pain he had with those locks, and why he grew the locks. And she was telling him about purging the trauma. This is them on the beach by a fireside. The fire's blowing. It seemed like it's almost nighttime. And she's talking about, we're going to purge the drama and the traumas and everything. And she started cutting his locks. And as she started cutting them all off, she got them all cut, and she started twisting his hair and twisting it, And then he was standing next to her and hugged her, and he said, here, this is my journal. I think Nikki should have it. So I guess while he was in prison, he wrote in that journal, and he wrote messages to Nikki. So poor little Nikki, she in bed crying and stuff because she's so confused. She don't know what's going on. And Angela comes in the room, and she's trying to talk to her, and she's letting her know she was 8 years old when her dad went into prison, and how he was Nate. He was young and scared and stuff. And she's like, Nate is so much more than what you see and what you hear. He's a poet and an artist just like you. She's letting her know. And she said, I don't want you to miss out on knowing your father like I did. She's like, I thought you didn't like Teddy. She's like, I don't, but he's my father. He's still my dad, So, and she said, Nate always wanted to see you, but I kept him away. Because I was, I was young and I was trying to protect you. She said, no, you was trying to protect you. What I needed was my father, and you do this all the time, Mommy. You did this, and you kept him away because of you. So, she ain't trying to hear it. So she basically wanted her to leave her room. And what I noticed is when Angela left the room, she left the, oh no, first of all, Leah told her, you lied to me. You and Aunt Piggy and Mama Rose, or whatever her name is, whatever her mother's name is. Y'all all lied to my face, for my entire life. She was so upset. But so she asked her to leave her room, and Angela got up and left, and she left Nate's journal there for her to read. So then Aunt Piggy said, oh, I was hoping you would come out. Leah's giving a press conference, and is Raymond's ex, Alex, is asking a question. And how come she's the one who always gets to ask a question? So she's asking about Teddy, and she's hearing that he was brought to the hospital by a family friend, Terry Chapman, and an ex-con, Nate Robinson. How does he work into this? She said he doesn't work into it, but he's a convicted felon and an accessory to murder. And at that point, Nikki had come out of her room and was listening and heard that, and Angela is pissed. And, you know, Leah ended the press conference on that because she kept saying, well, doesn't that look bad or something like that? And she said, isn't that the daughter, your the father of your sister's daughter or something like that? And she's like, on that note, I'm going to end the press conference. And that's what she did. She ended it. But Angela is pissed. Angela's like, And she tells Aunt Piggy, you know what? You can come for me or whatever you want, but not my baby girl. And she grabbed her stuff and started walking out. So she must go and do something. And then Leah caught up with Alex, and she confronted her and said, that's 2 times. She said, there won't better not be a 3rd time. If there's a 3rd time, I'm not going to be so nice. So she letting her know, I'm about to set it off in here. You better check yourself before you wreck yourself. You know, I'm crazy. Anyway, Angela arrived to the hospital asking, and she goes into, you know, Teddy's room, and she sees Leah, and she's like, where's little Miss Alex? She said, because she done mess with the wrong person now. She don't come, she don't mess with my baby girl. And she was like, she picked the wrong one this time. And Leah said, well, she is relentless. And she said, I could use some backup. And she said, okay, just let me know, or something like that. But then Teddy went into cardiac arrest while they were saying that in front of him. So he probably could hear what's going on. I don't know what it is, but he heard. And now the nurses are all up in there, and his heart is rate is just like going down. So Leah and Angela are holding hands while, you know, they working on Teddy, and they're watching. You know, in the meantime, Teddy is dreaming. He's in some kind of state, like he's in between death and life and death, you know. And he sees his brother, and they're looking down at their father's casket, and they're talking about who was daddy's favorite. That was weird. I don't know why they were having that conversation. But then it flashed back, and Lauren's in the house saying mommy called, and they're rushing grandpa into emergency surgery. And Raymond comes down to console her. And then you see that Nate walks by, and Nate goes, you know, I'm sorry to interrupt. Miss Jackie talking about a sandwich or something. Somebody making a sandwich for him. But he's saying, you know, Mr. Franklin seems to be a nice person, you know, and he tells Lauren, you know, he said he'll be praying for him. And she said, thank you. And Raymond's looking at him. And then he says, you know, he lets her know that the relationship she has with her father is a special thing. And, you know, it's special, and it's a wonderful thing. And she should, you know, be happy for it. And he hoped to one day have a relationship like that with his daughter. And then Raymond tells him, you know, you're a guest here. You don't have to tiptoe around, you know. It's okay. Make yourself at home. Make yourself comfortable. I was like, you don't tell an ex-con that. I don't know. I'm just saying. I don't know what to say. I'm telling you. But that's a big house, you know, and he's hearing all of these conversations. So it's kind of weird. So Tariq, he shows up to the house. This, I don't know whose house that is. Mr. Mr. Franklin's house. And he asks one of the longtime maids there. You know, she seemed to be the one in charge. And he asks about his dad. And he said, I know you've been around for a long time. Do you know how he died? You know, I'll take any information. She said, oh, there is a guy who knew him, Darius Bates. Said Darius knew him. He was a good friend of your father's, knew him well. You know, he said, where can I find him? You can't. He died, she said. He said, oh, he said, but he did have a girlfriend who probably knew just as much. And he's like, who's that? And she said, Patricia Vaughn. He said, what? He said, Angela's Aunt Piggy? She said, yep, that woman hold more secrets than the grave. Good God Almighty. We knew something was up with Aunt Piggy, didn't we? And that looked like the maid that might have been staring at her at that event when they were having that event, and she left talking about she didn't feel good at the cotillion or something it was. Ooh, Aunt Piggy is a mess. So this is so silly. Why is Raymond in a car with Alex by the hospital? It looked like it's by the hospital. And he's pissed at her for what she's doing. You're going too far with the stuff you're doing. You know, and she's like, you know, really, if you were in that hospital bed, what would Teddy be doing? He said taking was his. She said, don't he deserve the same thing? He said, I don't want my wife to get hurt while her father is in the hospital on his deathbed. And she's like, they're one of the same. What, don't you understand it? They're one of the same. And he's like, she's like, look, Teddy and Olivia conspired to steal your life from you. She said, don't you wonder what we could have been, had they not done that? And then she kisses him on the lips. She's in the car and she kisses him, and he moves away from her and says, I love my wife. And Alex goes, today. And he gets out the car and says, stay away from my family. And he walks into the hospital. And who saw him? Who saw him, y'all? Angela. Angela saw it all, baby. This about to get good, honey. So this is nice. Lauren goes to see Nikki, and she's asking her if she's okay. And she's like got tears in her eyes. And Nikki asks about Teddy to see if he's okay. And she said, he's in surgery. So she shares with Lauren that, with Nikki. Lauren shares with Nikki that she met her dad. She said, Nate, and he seems to be cool. And she said, I know we don't have the same type of relationship, but she wanted her to know that her relationship with her father is by far the most important one in her life, which that was deep for her to say, And she said, if you ever have a chance for that, you should take it. So that's when Nikki shares that, he left his journal and wanted her to read it. And her mom gave it to him. And I guess is what he's been writing while he's in prison. And so she said she's afraid to read it. So Lauren said, I'll read it. And she took it. She showed her where it was, and she took it and she started reading it to her. So what she was reading was a poem. It seemed like it was a poem, and it was actually about Nikki, because you could hear him saying 7 pounds, 3 ounces. That's what Daddy breathes for you. And I was like, wow. It was deep. It was deep. You could tell it was about her. And she goes, that was about me. And she starts crying, and Lauren holds her hand. And in the meantime, Tariq goes and confronts Aunt Piggy. And she's like, oh, no, Angela's not here. He said, that's okay, because I want to talk to you. And he asks her about Darius Bates. And she acts like she don't remember. She drinking her cup of tea like, I don't know. I don't remember that one. She said, but I was very popular back then. That was a busy summer. I was dating everybody. So I don't really know. She know good and damn well she knew who it is. And Tariq said, oh, I'm sorry. He said, I thought it was a connection, or something. She said, no, but I'll probably be asleep by the time Angela get back. So you have a good night, and I'll let her know you called or something like that. And he said, okay, thanks. And he walks off. I'm like, and she drops her mug. She drops her mug, and it cracks on the floor, because she knows the ish is about to get real. It's about to get real, and all her gonna come out. Whatever secret she holding or whatever she done did is about to come out. It is getting ugly. Aunt Piggy should have told Angela whatever the dirt is that she know or whatever she got. She should have already told Angela about this. It ain't going to end well for her, and it's going to break Angela's heart. So they got Teddy dreaming again, and he's talking to his brother Lewis, and he admits about him having a child by Eve, and he's like, textbook Teddy. I bet you hit it, and forgot all about her. And he said, I've made a lot of sacrifices. He said, yeah, I know 3 of your sacrifices, Eve, her child, and me. So whatever he did to his brother obviously seemed to be a sacrifice, before his arrogance. He said, we were all sacrifices for your arrogance. And I'm like, oh, snaps. His brother, he did something to his brother. Then they got Raymond. He gets in the elevator with his wife, and he turns his back. He don't even really acknowledge Angela, and he don't say nothing to her. And so Angela goes, so are you the one? Are you the leak? Are you the one telling her all the stuff about this family? Here I am watching Leah doing her best to hold it in, and she's pushing him like kind of while she's doing it. She's trying her best to hold it in his family. And they turn around and they looking at her, and she punches Raymond in the face. I said, damn, no, she didn't. She just punched him in the face like that. So, and Angela started almost like kicking, and she tells him what she saw. She said, I saw him in the car, and I saw him kiss her. And she's like, is this true? Leah's like, is this true? And Angela's kicking him, and Leah wants to, trying to stop her and stuff, a little bit. And if this is true, and she's really upset with Raymond. So she gets off the elevator after Angela gets off. She gets off to her and says, you know what? I can't do this right now in the hospital. She said, I don't even want to see you in this hospital. And she asked him to leave, like basically go home and wait for me to come there. And so they get off the elevator and they looking at each other. And Angela really has Leah's back. But she's looking at her, and at that moment the doctor came and said, "Oh, glad I saw you. Teddy's out of, surgery." So they both go there to the room. And it seems like they both stayed overnight, by his bedside all night. And what's her name? Leah said, "I'm surprised that you stayed." Angela said, "So am I. But she thanks her for the last night with Raymond. She's like, "Thank you for last night with what you did, with Raymond and stuff." She said, and she said, because she was surprised at her staying, she said, "I really didn't want you to be here by yourself." And Leah shares that she always wanted to be a only child, and she never had a problem with that. She enjoyed being an only child. She said, "But right now I'm glad I don't have to go through this by myself with her father." So they hold hands, and Leah starts praying and stuff. And one of her last prayer was something about, bring my father back, whole. And Teddy wakes up and says, "I heard you." So, they're all like, "Oh, that's good. I'm glad you awake." And Angela turns to leave, and basically Leah pulls her back and says, "No, stay," because she was giving them some privacy, but Leah told her to stay, and she just stayed, which was cool. Then they show Angela talking, going in there to talk to Nikki, and Nikki asked her how she was holding up and stuff, and she said, "Oh, I'm doing okay." And she said, "What's going on with you?" And she said, "How are you doing?" And Nikki said, "There's so much of this journal sounds so much like me." And I was like, wow, like that is her fault. That's his child. And so she said, "But can I ask you a question?" She's like, "What?" And she said, "How did he end up there, like in prison?" And she tells her the story, what happened with him and stuff. Even though he wasn't the one who pulled the trigger, he was there. So he was got caught during the time. So she said something about, like, Angela asked Nikki what was in her heart. What did she want to do? And she said, "I want to know my dad." And she said, "Okay, then that's what we'll do." Then we show Raymond. He's telling Leah everything that happened, why he had Alex come there to help him get back Darman and stuff. And that was the only reason. Next thing you know, Alex is on the news talking about full disclosure. She gonna tell everything what she found out. And so she's telling, I give the full news. And then she said how she used to be she's his ex-wife, and how she was the first Mrs. Whatever, Raymond's, what is Raymond's last name? God, I just forgot Raymond's last name. Anyway, DuPont, and she told everything. And then she told everybody, and the truth is he's suffering from Parkinson's disease. Oh my God. Leah was pissed. And she basically threw Raymond out the house and said, "You might as well pack that bag, because I don't want to see your face no more." She was pissed. "I don't want to see you no more." But what they don't know is there was a doctor who got out the car, and Alex pretended she was from Howard University as well, or maybe she really is from it or whatever. And he's like, "Really? I'm a fan of yours and stuff. Can I get a picture?" She said, "Only if first, under one condition, I'll give you he wanted an autograph. She said, "I'll even give you a selfie." But she wanted to know what was wrong with Teddy Franklin, the truth. And he's the one who told her probably that he had Parkinson's. So it ended that way. I was like, yo, this was deep. This was a good episode and everything. So there is one more thing. They showed Aunt Piggy leaving a note. She left a note on the steps saying, "I'm going to Boston," or something like that. And she is leaving with a suitcase, going down the steps. So she is running. Aunt Piggy is running from whatever it is she did, said, or knows. Okay? And that is the way it ended. And this episode was all that. It really was. I enjoyed it. Just learning more. We learning that the father did something to his brother, because we're going to see in next week's episode. Is it next week's episode? I don't think it was this episode, when the brother came and visited Teddy while he's in the hospital bed, and he has looked like a bullet hole in his head. And I'm sitting there going, what? You going to tell me, what? Are we going to find out that he killed his brother? Are we going to find out that Teddy killed his brother? Anyway, this your girl Barbie J. And let me know if there's anything else that I missed in this episode. Let me know your feelings and your thoughts about it as well. Don't forget to leave comments. Don't forget to subscribe. This your girl Barbie J saying peace.